Second panel, on here with me, I have Honorable Teejay Yusuf, I have Banke Ilori, and I have Wilson Manji. So Honorable Teejay is a member, House of Reps, representing Kababunu, Kogi State. Banke is the executive director of Raising New Voices, while Mr. Wilson is a development worker. Right. So I'll start with you, Mr. Wilson. Is that okay? Okay. So you have been involved with elections under the European Centre for Electoral Support within the EU, within the EU support to democratic governance in Nigeria. You are well versed with electoral laws and improvements that are needed around here. So can you please shed some light on some of the work that you have been involved with, especially with respect to reforms that will positively affect women's participation in politics and governance?
Thank you, Bill Kisu, for that question. And I'm quite happy to be on this panel with Honorable Teejay, who incidentally we were with in Lagos in March, where we actually organized a joint meeting in support to the Independent National Electoral Commission to holistically look at the ongoing Electoral Act reform process. Both committees of the Senate on INEC and the House of Representatives on electoral matters were well represented at that meeting. This was actually the first of its kind, where you have both committees of the National Assembly have a sit down with the INEC to extensively look at provisions of the Electoral Act and make submissions that will improve the ongoing Electoral Act reform process. It was indeed quite intensive. It was a process that saw the members of the National Assembly make very constructive inputs to the submissions that were presented or provided by the Independent National Electoral Commission. So to that level, I know that the process is still on because constantly we are following up with both committees at the National Assembly to see how that situation unfolds. But I know quite a number of recommendations have been made and processes of harmonization are ongoing. Thankfully, the House member is here, a member of that committee, and I'm pretty sure he will shed more light on where they are with that particular process.
Okay, thank you very much. On to you, Banke. So the Electoral Reform Bill presents an opportunity for us to further improve elections and strengthen democracy in Nigeria. Why is the push for improved elections muted on the end of women's call for parts of the bill to secure affirmative action?
Oh, well, I know that the Electoral Amendment Bill tries to seek for ways to ensure that women are mainstreamed, but I think the reason we haven't been able to get a lot of push in that regard is the reason we've had challenges with respect to implementation of laws affecting women. But I think that what we need to do at this point is to intensify our efforts. I know that we've done some reviews at Raising New Voices, and one of the things we have proposed is for political parties to be mandated by law, because there are a lot of challenges affecting women with respect to political participation. And one of the fastest ways to ensure that we get changes in that regard is to push for affirmative action to be compulsorily required by law. So political parties have to, as a matter of law, submit list of candidates, or 35% of their candidates must be women. And it's going to be the same thing with respect to appointive positions as well. It's a tested method of ensuring greater participation, and I believe it's something all of us should push for.
All right, thank you for that. So in respect to that, I'm just going to read out some data that I have about that. So in the 2019 elections, only 62 women out of 2,970 female aspirants were elected into office. Nigeria currently has only 7 female senators out of 109. And then we also only have 11 women in the House of Representatives with a total of 360 members. So that is just a fraction, a very tiny fraction of female representation in governance and politics, right?
Absolutely.
And Nigeria only has 4 female deputy governors out of 36. Nationwide representation of women in the 2019 election was at 4.17%, a drop from the 5.65% in the 2015 elections. The Northwest has just one woman legislator, Comfort Amwe. She is in the Kaduna State House of Assembly. And then the Northern Nigeria has 19 states. With 19 states, has only one female senator, Senator Aisha Benani. Right. So coming to you, Honorable TJ. So Nigeria runs a presidential system. Elections are won on first past the post basis. So in most systems where affirmative actions work, it's usually a parliamentary system. So in the current, would you say the current system is responsible for the suppression of women's suppression?
I think it was adequately cultural, religion. Cultural, two set of kids of the same age set out. One is married out at the age of 15. That's sometimes not up to 15. So it's limited, it's cut short. His ability, her ability to mileage or potential is reduced. And the things that the society tend to unconsciously promote limit the ability of a woman to present herself for leadership. However, why is doing to I say yeah, parliamentary will have helped us a bit, but presidential too. In our debt to 35%. So I think what we should do is to have policies deliberately to address this. But policies are not enough. That's why we are where we are. Because policies are led to the prerogative of whoever is in charge. My party, PDP, had entrenched in the constitution 35% elected position for party offices. And I was in that constitutional review committee of the party in 2016. It was a battle. It was a huge battle. And again, when it comes to implementing this, you cannot take away those values the society had for years to tell them certain things. I wasn't in the house when Patricia Ete was the speaker. I followed. I've been in the house now for like 9 years. That woman never stole a dime. But the perception outside was that she stole money, that's what she was taking out. Some people didn't want her as a woman, as a speaker, that was it. And they felt the only way the society can buy into it is to cook a story about some fund that was, and it sold like wildfire. And that was the end.
Reputation.
I mean, she's not even contested election since then again. So you can imagine other women will hear a story and be scared. So what we need to do is to continue to educate ourselves. Nobody is advantage. Anybody that, or not anybody, all of us are a product of a woman, and you know what it is. There's a common saying that if you educate a woman, you regulate a community. And I know what 10,000 naira does in the hand of a mother, and what it does in the hand of a guy. 10,000 you put in your back pocket, and you go for a weekend, you come back empty. A woman will feed the family, plan school fees, and what have you. So we must leverage on that potential that women have. And it is a challenge for now. I will not lie to you, sit here and make you look as if it's easy to get into the Constitution. But we must continue this kind of forum to educate our people. We must get the religious bodies into it. It's very important. We get religious bodies, our leaders in the communities and whatever into it, so that those perceptions, those fears are thoroughly extinguished, so that we will have a better avenue to implement these things. Is it Rwanda or which country has a 50% affirmative?
They've reached 64%.
They reached 64% now. And I am a politician. I've done election 3 times. I stand here to state that I found women more reliable, more trustworthy. I'm sorry, I've been mad, but on field, if a woman tells you good morning, most times you meet it good morning. If a man tells you hey, don't worry, I'm with you. You better go back 10 times and confirm, else you'll be left in the bus stop. So I think as mothers, there are natural innate tendencies that God has endowed a woman with. So we have not yet maximized. And society that has maximized it are far ahead of us. So I am of the opinion that this kind of discussion must take it down to communities, not just at this forum. So I'm sure, I'm convinced that the moment people are better educated, it will be easy to do this.
Thank you very much for that. So I'll throw one last question at you to answer in maybe a sentence or two. How do you think men can contribute to ensure equal rights and opportunity for women?
Picking up from where the Honorable just left it, I think he's completely itemized the issue of the patriarchal nature of our politicking and some of the issues that women face, the challenges they face while aspiring for political offices. With these countries that have set some precedents, like Rwanda that he's actually mentioned, Kenya, Burundi, Ghana, a few countries that have made certain provisions, you find a situation where the representational democracy, like you've rightly said, thrives during a parliamentary system. But you still do not want to promote a situation where there is a deficit mentality, amongst the women, and entrench and have a situation where you put forth women just for the sake of putting women. Because at the same time, we are also looking at when there is contestation for office, the legitimacy of that particular position is also, considered. So you also want to have a situation where quality women are being put out there against a situation where you just put women for the sake of putting women. But we know, of course, at the same time that is it depends on the context of every country, and every system operates based on the peculiarities of the people. So I know that the men can support that within that particular context after studying what works for this particular context.
All right, then thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for joining me on here.